Hey, Aaron, you know how people like play the silly little drinking game when you say fascinating?
Yes.
I feel like for me, it would be me saying, I didn't see it.
It's quite possible.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, presented by CinemaSins.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, a weekly look at everything going on inside the world of CinemaSins. I'm Aaron Dicer. I'm joined as always by Jonathan Watkins.
Hello, hello.
And Danae Hughes. We write for CinemaSins and TV Sins and do various other things inside the CinemaSins universe as well, like karate that Danae is doing right now.
I think I've done that intro before, so
You
I
have.
guess my streak is broken, guys. I'm sorry to disappoint you.
Karate.
Oh, here, I'll do a new one.
You want me to insert that in?
Is that a donkey?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Okay.
Of course it is.
Sure.
Just to let you know up front, we are recording this early. Danae and her family are moving over the course of the time we would usually record. And so this will be a shorter episode. We're going to go through the videos that we've seen. Many of those don't have comments yet because they aren't public yet. And so kind of keeps us from having some of those segments. But then we're also going to take some of your questions for our second segment today. And just wanted to let you know that kind of as we get moving here, that if you're sad that this is a little bit shorter of an episode, it's Danae's fault. So please contact her and let her know why she had to move. I mean, come on.
Well,
technically, we could have just recorded with somebody else, but, we'll put it on
Thank
Danae.
you, Jonathan. That's exactly. It's not like you guys haven't done that. It's weird, though, and I guess I do have to ask this now that you've brought it up. Why did you guys get to leave, but I don't?
Yeah, I had
Danae,
nothing to do with this.
you're the heart of the show. Danae,
I will
would
say that
revolt.
is fair. I think out of any of the three of us not being on an episode,
Well, we'll never know unless you guys let me leave. You guys, I'm stuck here forever. They won't let me go. I'm trapped.
and I see that dog's tail wagging behind you.
It kind of looks like
he's
your
so
tail's
happy.
wagging, if I'm being honest. It kind of looks like
Yeah,
you've got a
it
wagging
does
tail.
kind of look like from that perspective, it is Danae's tail.
Hell yeah. If I could have a tail, I would so have a tail.
Yeah. You'd be like that
kind of annoying
X-Files baby.
after the curiosity part wore off. I think it'd be kind of annoying.
No, man, they'd be awesome. Like
What-
a little tabaxi tail or something. You know what, though? The tail that you guys are seeing is my dog's tail. He has long hair, and it's definitely giving me that vibe of Barf from Star... what was that?
Spaceballs.
Spaceballs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe I don't want that tail.
Yeah, probably not. So anyhow, we are doing this a little bit early, but Danae, I have to ask, how is the moving coming? Do you feel ready?
At the time of recording this, I think we're really, really close to being completely ready.
Well, that's nice.
We hired movers. I know that's kind of a little repetitive at this point, but we hired some movers, and so usually I have to think about, okay, where are we going to be putting everything into the vehicles? How are we going to be moving desks and bookshelves and filing cabinets and beds? But this time, 4 dudes are going to come into the house and just take care of all of that. So my main
dudettes.
responsibilities. I don't think so. I think that they said that there's 4 guys coming. So
Okay, you already know for a fact. You did the penis check.
Hiring movers. You have to hire movers. I'm sorry.
we've never done this before.
Oh,
It
it's so
feels
nice.
like one of those luxury moments in our life where we're like, let's save up and do it this way.
Yeah.
And my dad is like Mr. Do It Yourself. He has taken probably 60 courses in his life to know how to do, make his own keys, fix locks, fix small engines, do electric work. He is that guy. He is a Mr. Self-do.
Yeah. See, my
but
dad
then-
taught me who to call
Yeah.
if I needed something
Yeah,
done.
that's
I'm
a
not
lot.
even joking.
No, that's
No,
me too.
my-
That's me too.
But that's an important thing. So because my dad's always done everything, I've always been able to be like, hey, Dad. But like now it's not as easy to do that for several reasons. So when I told him we hired movers, I could almost see the air deflate out of him a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? And then whenever I told him how much we're paying the movers, it was a real hard swallow
Yeah.
for him. He was like,
Yeah.
what? But now we know that it was the best decision because obviously none of us could have foreseen.
But I'm thinking from his perspective, though, like if my daughter was your age moving, if she didn't hire movers, I would have to help her move, and I'd be okay with her hiring movers.
Well, but her dad wants to help. Like that's like his thing. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not,
let me tell you this
I
about
love helping
Hammer.
my
My dad's name is Hammer, by the way.
Nice.
Let me tell you this about Hammer. He's the kind of guy that like periphery becomes other people's construction dad, because he's come over to my house and helped me with projects because he wants to.
Like,
that's awesome. No, my father-in-law's like that, so I get it.
Yeah.
I appreciate my dad so much. He's taught me a lot, but I don't have that personal skill set. And then my husband, he's not that guy either.
Yeah.
So to answer your question more directly, I think we're as ready as we're going to be, and if we miss something, we'll just have to figure it out on the fly.
So one thing I know you've got going on, because it helped us when we moved, is Little Debbie boxes.
Oh my gosh.
So many Little Debbie boxes.
So get this. So my husband works for Little Debbie. So if we need boxes, we can easily get boxes, because we just, go to one of the guys who's just putting the product in the stores, and then rather than putting those boxes in the recycling, we put them into the back of the vehicle, and then we reassemble the boxes and we use them. And they're great because they're perfect for like picking up and moving, because they're not too big and they're not too bulky.
They're perfect boxes.
But they don't fit everything. And then I just learned my cousin works for a box company that creates boxes. So we're like those people that if we ever need a box, there's never going to be a shortage. We have like the box monopoly, which feels real good. I'm about to text her today to be like, hey, we need some boxes this size, and see if we can get those.
Well, now I feel
nice.
Danae, like you're kind of being, bragging a little bit, which kind of makes you a box troll as far as I'm concerned. So
nice. Underrated movie.
It is an underrated movie. I agree with that sentiment.
I haven't seen it.
Let's get into it. Let's get into this week's SinSide Scoop.
What's he building in there?
I've got a secret.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
This is a true story.
Hey, Aaron, you know how people like play the silly little drinking game when you say fascinating?
Yes.
I feel like for me, it would be me saying, I didn't see it.
It's quite possible.
Like, it's so expected.
Take a drink every time Danae says she hasn't seen a movie or a TV show.
Yep. For real.
We're going to talk about the videos from this week, the ones that we already have access to, at least. We will start out with the TV Sins video, Supernatural Swan Song. This is the second time we've done a Supernatural episode. We did the pilot episode, and now we've jumped way ahead in the show.
That was one of our first videos, right?
Yeah.
That was like that first October, because we did all October-y kind of shows.
Yeah, and people seem to like it, so we're doing another one. Plus, the show is finishing up. Although they haven't shot their final episode yet, so
they had not shot like 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah, so
and
they're
then
kind
I
of
think
on
they
hold.
didn't have the post-production company closed down too. So there's like 4 or 5 episodes that they can't air right now.
Yeah. So that is affecting their kind of end of run status.
Stupid pandemic.
I agree. I am on your side. So this was a Hughes Watkins script with Danae and Jonathan writing on it. I've never watched the show. I watched the first episode we sent because I was on that pilot script, but I didn't even watch this episode.
Didn't drive you to watch more?
No, not interested. It just seemed like an X-Files ripoff.
Well,
and I was like, I don't know.
This would also be kind of a daunting show to take on. I mean, It's in season 15.
If I'm not going to invest the time to catch up on Sopranos, I'm not going to invest the time to catch up on Supernatural. Okay?
There you go.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. But Danae, what did you think? This is your first experience with an episode of Supernatural.
Yeah, and I haven't seen the show. This is my first time to see an episode from this show. And oftentimes, we'll get the pilot or something, and so you'll see the start of it. So this is just one of those instances where I'm being dropped into the middle of something, or the sort of middle of something. I guess comparatively, it's definitely not the middle, technically. So I really didn't know what to expect in this show. It seems to me like it is a mystery kind of a concept where 2 brothers are sort of solving supernatural crimes while also getting caught up in like the hierarchy of power and magic.
Yeah, close enough. There's this group of people. I have watched a lot of this series.
Yeah, Jonathan's our supernatural expert.
I watched it like from the beginning. I was really enjoying it. And this was kind of a wrap up of basically like a 5-season story arc that they had laid out. But yeah, no, that's pretty close. There's these people called hunters, they're aware that the monster under your bed is real, and they have kind of taken it on themselves to travel the country where there's kind of like X-Files, but not as it's not government run. They go to these places where they find out that they think something's going on. They investigate, and then they try to take the monster out or whatever it is. Then there was also this like long story arc that started. I don't remember when exactly it started, but it started with they found out there were angels. And then, of course, they found out because there's angels, there's God and the devil. And then the devil kind of became like the show's main villain for a season and a half or something. And that's kind of what we're ending with this episode is that story arc. But then the show, they decided to continue the show because it was a hit, and it's been on for 10 more years. So
yeah, exactly. So wait, hold on. Maybe no, that actually is information I didn't realize. So what we just send is like season 5?
The season finale of season 5, yes.
Oh, I was thinking it was like season 9 or something.
And it was never going to be the series. Like that was not supposed to be the series finale. They had already renewed the show. There's a lot of. In fact, somebody on Discord was talking to me about this earlier. There's a little bit of misinformation there that the showrunner, whose name all of a sudden escapes me, and he did end up leaving a couple years later.
Okay.
But there's a lot of misinformation that he wanted the show to end after 5 seasons and stuff like that. But I don't think that's true. I mean, I don't think he had any issue with the show going on because he made more money. But that was just kind of they finished a story basically, and then they kind of started something different after that, using a lot of the same stuff. Like there's still angels, and now God is actually a character on the show. He's actually a villain.
Oh. It looks like the series was run by Eric Kripke for the first 5 seasons.
Yeah, Kripke, that's right. Yeah,
Sarah Gamble for a couple seasons, Jeremy Carver for a couple seasons, Robert Singer for a couple seasons, and Andrew Dabb for a couple seasons. Well, there you go.
Yep. Yeah. So, but it's a fun show, and it's a show because it's been on so long. It doesn't really take itself too seriously. Although watching this episode, you wouldn't know that. But like they do a lot of like crazy stuff. Like there's this whole like. You know, in this episode, for instance, you have the Chuck character writing a novel, and you find out that like they found out like a couple of years before this or something that there were novels being written that were based on their adventures.
You know, that's
they meet. Yeah,
that's one of my favorite jokes in the script. And I'll just mention it now. Maybe we can even move into talking about the video itself. Since you guys wrote on it, I'll start. But I love that normal metafiction vomiting out regular metafiction joke.
Oh, it's nuts, man. They there's like a Scooby. They team up with the Scooby-Doo in an episode.
What?
It's animated.
What?
Yeah.
What is this show? That's amazing.
They end up at a supernatural convention.
Wow.
They time travel, or they go to like a different world where the supernatural is actually a show and about them. I mean, they just play around with a lot of stuff, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, you know. But at least it's trying something different. It's not your just, you know, generic run-of-the-mill kind of stuff. Although they do have episodes of that, too. But when you have like 300 episodes, you're going to have some bad ones.
I also liked the fastest glad that will never happen in TV history.
That was Danae.
That made me smile. The look at the road sin really made me laugh. Just the way it was worded and just the fun with that. The more rings with Sauron the Third.
Yeah, that was Jonathan. So good.
Oh, it was Chris, I think.
Oh, that was Chris. Yeah.
Chris right. Added a couple sins to this one as the shadow, which sometimes shadows will do. They'll throw a couple sins in there. So yeah, and then the I'm talking to the Sam in the mirror made me laugh.
Thank you. Yeah, I was really glad that worked out.
And then he made a promise, and then did he though? And then it shows it like nope.
Well, and Danae did the one too where it was she went back and put all the times they said Detroit, because initially I had written just a generic, or not generic, but we do the pretty traditional where, you know, not to be confused with.
Right.
And I think I had Detroit, Alabama, which oddly enough I'm getting to use in another script.
Yeah, you are. That's so funny.
But because there actually is a Detroit, Alabama. But then she wrote that, so I'm like, oh yeah, we're going with that because that's that was a little different take. Yeah,
that was so fun.
Well, I was just gonna ask Danae, you wrote the one though about answering a phone like an asshole, didn't you? Or was that Chris? The one where we were talking about when Chuck answers the phone and he's like, says like some goddess or mistress or something. And you were like, who answers a phone
Chris.
like this?
Yeah, that was Chris.
Yeah. Oh, that was Chris. Okay, I couldn't remember, but because this was one of those where I almost didn't put it in because I didn't know if this would be considered future knowledge, but I thought it was funny just to troll the fans because actually the way Jeremy reads this, he's acting like he doesn't know, but you find out like 9 years later that Chuck is actually God.
I wondered about that.
I wrote a sin where he would almost have to be God to have this kind of knowledge.
Just the way that was worded, I picked up on it because my brain was like, "Oh, is that one of those? I hope that doesn't happen kind of things." Yeah,
and I can't imagine that they had that idea that year. So it's kind of funny to go back and look. And although it is really weird at the end of the episode, he disappears. But
he wrote a really good script on that one about God ex machina, so just God, I guess.
Yeah, that was one of those where I wanted to write an ex machina, and then I'm like, well, it's God that brought Castiel back to life, maybe. So
it's literally a Deus ex machina. That is literally what it means.
Yeah, exactly. Hand of God or whatever, right? Or machine of God.
In the machine.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
God in the machine.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh yeah, so that's exactly what it is.
I really thought that Jonathan having such a good knowledge on this one was helpful because he was able to do a lot of the inside ones. He actually helped me with one we were talking about because he's like, if you've got any questions, just let me know or whatever. And then there was this one particular moment where it's all about this car and how this car has some sort of role in this moment of their story. And it's clearly Dean, but it's back in time or something. And I was confused about how, like, okay, what's going on here? So he explained that Dean had gone back in time and then like talked to his own dad. And so I had just finished trying to noodle around on a sin about that. So that was actually one where I had no inside information prior to talking to Jonathan.
Yeah.
So that was...
because it's like the Back to the Future thing. It's like, how do you not remember that someone, like once you had your kid and he grew up, are you not like, dude, I met somebody that looks straight up like this guy?
My son. Yeah. I liked it was an interesting one too because like obviously I wasn't interested in the content, which makes it kind of fun to sin like some of the content. There's one that I was sort of surprised made it in, like that was just your face, like kind of just like a little slam on I haven't written anything like that before. You guys already mentioned the Sam in the Mirror one. I really liked that one. High Noon. I really liked how
that
Jeremy
was great.
delivered that one. Oh, High Noon. Oh, High Noon, you say. Of course. Why wouldn't it be? Questioning like the holy flame and why that would hurt an angel. Was it something that might be answered in another show at another time, but I didn't understand that one. And then just the it's far too many bones being broken that you skip. When you're writing that stuff in the script, you're like, okay, how do I say it's skip, sort of all in one word together.
You read it well, though.
He did. It was fantastic. But my favorite one that I wrote and my favorite delivery is for sure the car coming to life.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Yeah,
exactly about how I wanted it to be.
Yeah. Yeah, that was perfect.
Because that was my
very
family.
Danae.
My family was the family that brought vehicles to life. Everyone had a name, and then if they were ruined in a movie or something, we felt sad about that. So his delivery was exactly like me trying to grow up and realize that cars are not. They're not real. They don't have feelings.
Yes,
they conveyed it so well, and I loved it.
But I think the biggest actual. Sorry.
I was just going to say, Danae has definitely brave little toastered her world. Like,
Yes, that's exactly
she
it.
really does. It's so fascinating listening to her talk about movies and stuff because she takes every character, even like the smallest character, like so personally and like wants to know their journey. And
I know.
So I totally get why you struggle with watching movies on your off time.
Yeah.
Because if I had that kind of emotional connection, that would be tough.
Exhausting.
I would have a really difficult time because there's already certain types of movies where I get that anyways. But
right.
I was just going to say the I think actual sins, the biggest sin for me of this episode was that the idea that the only thing they could do was kill Sam, basically, was have Sam get the devil in this hole. It's like, and there's no way because they have fucking angels. Like,
Yeah.
they could have figured, there had to be a way to figure something else out. So I wrote that sin about, but it's the season finale, so we got to flip a coin to see which brother has to sacrifice themselves, because that happens a ton in this show.
I bet. That's
Like,
the
it feels
vibe
like
I
they
got.
just,
Is it
it feels
felt
like they just
a-
alternated every season. Like, oh, this season, Dean's going to have to die at the end.
What is like
crazy.
the types of dramas, the soap opera type
Yeah.
thing where it's like, who's gonna be in the coma this week? It had that vibe to it, but with men and like,
Yeah.
which is why I remember the only person that told me that I had to watch Supernatural is this. She would be fine with me saying this about her if she heard it. Super horny lady. She just was like,
Oh,
"These
there's a lot
men
of horny ladies. There's a lot of
these men
thirsty
are
ladies
so
watching this
beautiful
show.
Watching
Yeah.
this show, my God, oh Dean, oh Sam."
For the record, that is not why I watch it. Although there are a lot of beautiful
It would be
ladies
fine.
that pop
It would
up.
be fine, Jonathan.
Of course, it would be fine.
You can thirst.
I will say one of the strengths of this show, though, and I think we talked about this in the pilot when we send that, is that they Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki, they act really, even if they're not great actors, they have really good chemistry.
I remember that
and
from the pilot.
They feel like brothers. Like, they are and I don't have a brother, but like, to me, they feel like two brothers the whole time, like the way they act with each other.
That's cool.
And that's probably why I got into the show in the first place. And then the story itself became really interesting. The Castiel character is a really fun character. They play a lot around with him. Just what they do with like angels and God and stuff is so, like I said, God's basically a villain now. Like, God's given up on everybody and just figures the only way to fix anything is to destroy everything.
I don't think you would
it's-
have trouble finding people who believe God's a villain these days.
Well, that's true, but I don't.
But I don't.
But I would say it from a storytelling standpoint, like, that's an interesting way, because most of the time God would be presented as
Right.
a good thing. So it's
Yeah.
interesting to do that. Like Preacher, like that comic, I never watched the show, but that comic book series was based on the idea that God quit.
Right.
And it's like, that's fascinating. Like,
Yeah,
because
it's
maybe
interesting.
God would quit because he'd be like, you guys suck. And I don't want to deal with you guys anymore. So stuff like that's kind of
You
interesting.
guys are stressing me out.
But stuff like that's kind of interesting. This show's gotten to be pretty silly at this point. But it's kind of one of those things where if you've watched for 12 years, how do you not make it to
quit
the
it?
end?
That's
Now
like
I gotta
me in
wait
Grey's
longer.
Anatomy. I've watched every episode of Grey's
Yeah,
Anatomy.
so's my wife.
So it's like, I can't stop now.
She actually rewatched it over the summer too. Like, she's watched every
Wow.
episode at least twice. Yeah, I don't know. She
incredible.
can binge like she. My wife is good at a lot of things, but she is outstanding at binging a show, man. That woman can just watch a show.
It's like
I don't know if that's a talent, but she has it.
It's like Walking Dead. That's why I have to go back and watch all the episodes of Walking Dead I missed.
Oh my
Oh,
God! If you
stop
do
it.
that,
No,
I'm
you
just.
don't. No, you don't. And you don't. That's not funny.
If you do that, that's on you.
Nobody to blame but yourself. All right, let's move on to SpongeBob pizza delivery. Hey, we're doing a SpongeBob run, guys.
Yay!
I will tell you, this was a lot of fun. This was a Dicer Hughes script. Danae and I wrote on it, and I'm kind of starting to get this show. I'm kind of starting to understand it and understand why people love it. It's just, it's really, I think once you tune into its frequency, there's a lot of fun there. It's just silly fun, and I'm starting to get why people love this show.
Maybe
I
I'll
had
get
such
there.
fun.
Maybe I'll get there, but I will say I did not work on this one, but I just worked on my first SpongeBob script because I didn't work on the one we did previous either. That was both of you too, right?
I think so, yeah.
And I told Aaron, I was like, I don't know that I like this show, but I could see getting there, like after I watch a few of these. Because I will say, even just watching this video, I enjoyed that a little more than I did the previous episode I had watched. And
Yeah.
I also like that they're like 12 minutes. Like, that's
That is
that's
nice.
wonderful. It's like, it's like I'm back to music video stems, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like, can we only send SpongeBob episodes?
yeah.
Ever, forever,
Or
and
just,
ever.
and then maybe tackle Adult Swim stuff,
Yeah.
And I think people would love that.
I think they would. I definitely think they would. I don't know that we have a ton to say other than that about the show itself. It is what it is. It's a silly show.
I
Danae?
loved this episode. I mean, it was such a nice shift after like Westworld and like you, and then it's like SpongeBob. SpongeBob. And for whatever reason, this one like made me so happy. And I also want to tell you that this one was when I'm full-time home with my child and having to work. And so this is one that I could be watching, and I was working on it, and Iris came up to me the next day. I had just watched it a couple times through, and I was thinking, okay, I need to watch it once more just to kind of like finalize my thoughts or whatever. And she comes over to me and she goes, Mama, I want to watch that he rectangle yellow and there's a pizza. And I was like, oh my God, you just asked to watch SpongeBob. And I could sit down and watch SpongeBob with her. And so we just sat down and watched it over and over again, and I'm making notes for work while she's just like enjoying it. There's a couple moments in this one that make me just feel like happiness and silliness, and it was a nice kind of welcome change, you know. Like the singing moment when SpongeBob starts randomly singing out there. I was like, that's me, you know. Or like
we almost wrote your name into that sin, by the way.
We did.
Yeah,
we really did. Or like
it would have been better than the one I put my name in.
I was just thinking that. Or when SpongeBob is just running away and is like, no, like that slayed me. I don't know why, but it totally just slayed me. I wonder though if this one's popular as far as like requests for particular episodes, because Squidward goes to SpongeBob's defense in the end of this one. You know, obviously Squidward's always like sort of annoyed with SpongeBob and rolls his eyes at him.
I'm annoyed with Squidward. That's one problem I have with this show. I do not like Squidward. I'm just going to throw that out there. And the episode I did was like all Squidward.
Oh,
it was a Squidward episode. Spoiler alert.
So it's kind of funny because then here in this one, he's annoyed with him the entire episode, but then at the end he goes to his defense. I mean, he does so by attacking someone, but still. So I thought that was probably why people really liked it, is it's like one of those moments when your characters that are always fighting kind of get along and one goes to the other one's defense. So I really, really loved this episode.
I bet following up Westworld and You, that was Westward. What the hell is Westward?
It was a relief.
Well, I think this during these times, because like I was watching a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, the first one yesterday, and my wife came in. She's like, "Are you watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?" I'm like, yeah, because it's fun. Like, I don't want to have to I don't want to think about anything right now, you know?
Yeah.
So I think maybe that also probably helps. But I really, really like this video though. I loved a salt and pepperoni.
That was Aaron, and so good.
Oh
he
my God,
actually had
so
an
fun.
alt version of that, and he had a couple versions that he could have put right there, and that's the one that we went with because I was like, that's just so funny.
And the you guys noticed, like you guys pointed out that the air should be escaping like all of SpongeBob, but it's just coming out of his mouth or whatever. At what point does cartoon physics turn into nightmare fuel? There was quite a bit of nightmare imagery in this one. And of course, go right ahead and suck my conch, because apparently we all make conch jokes these days.
We're all on the same wavelength. I wonder if people believe us that we're not just like copying ourselves. Like it literally happens all the time.
Sometimes I think we do kind of play off stuff we've already seen.
Oh, sure, but we make it a little different, you know.
But then this one, though, you guys were writing separate scripts, and that's crazy.
Yeah, it's weird how much that happens. It really is.
But these are really fun to send SpongeBob episodes. There's so much going on. You can grab onto something. It's easier than some cartoons we've messed with, like Steven Universe.
You mentioned Danae about the air escaping all of SpongeBob, which I thought was great. She also had the one where it's like telling Squidward how SpongeBob eats because sponges just filter the stuff in the water around them. It's like, you're going to be really ticked when you realize he's been eating this whole time. I just thought that was so great. There's a lot of fun in this. We had a good time writing it. As far as research goes, the fact that the forward and backward were actually the Korean words for forward and backward, I was like, that is so weird.
Crazy.
And
so cool. So did you take a picture of that and then do like a Google Lens?
I did.
Interesting.
Used a Google Lens to figure out, what that said. And it was like forward and backwards. I was like, oh, that's pretty right on the nose
so
there.
Smart. That's so smart.
And then I have to mention the outtake in this where he's eating coral and he's like, you know, you can eat
it's
coral
so funny.
and do the Walking Dead. Coral! It's so perfect. It's so perfect. It's one of my favorite things ever. But yeah, we had a great time with this one.
It is always interesting, though, with outtakes, because since we've previously worked on stuff, like we've done a lot of Walking Dead, I do have Walking Dead, like, in my head, so I do come up with Walking Dead outtakes quite a bit, just because that's what we've been working on for the past month.
Yep. I'm excited. I'm excited about the SpongeBob run.
The only one that you didn't mention that I wanted to throw in that I really enjoyed was at the beginning of this one. It was like the end of the workday, but then by the end of the episode, it's the beginning of the day or something.
Yeah,
and that wasn't
or
really
something.
addressed. And I like how Jeremy delivered the whole like out water or whatever. That whole part was done really, really well.
And shout out to the idea that they have head phalluses that keep their hats on.
I was just going to mention that one because thanks to you, I have like this envision now. I can't have this little visual that.
Yep. Anytime they have that's the only explanation for the way those hats stay on. And
there was one outtake too I really loved. It was the like when they're in the like desert part of the episode, and the outtake was C-3PO talking. I was like, oh my god, that would have been the perfect moment too for a Spaceballs reference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of the whole
You had
combing.
Spaceballs on your mind.
I do.
Or just balls. I don't know.
Or just
Whatever.
ball,
but
balls in general.
all right, let's move on to the movies for the week from CinemaSins. Date night is where we will
Not
start.
game night.
No, not game night. Oh
Can
my
we
goodness.
just say, thank God this is finally almost over. Like we're finally almost beyond the point where we're constantly getting those two mixed up.
I will say, I thought I had been assigned game night. The script, and I caught it before I started working on it. But
well, that's good.
Yeah, I thought I had been assigned game night, but I had been assigned date night.
This was a Cher Watkins script. So Barrett and Jonathan wrote on this.
Barrett did send it his thoughts too, just so you know.
All right, well, let's get to those. I will say I've never seen it. I'll get that out of the way.
Oh wow!
And
you would like this movie.
I think I would. Just watching the Sins video, I was like, this seems really funny to me.
It is really funny. It is very generic. Like, it's not doing anything really new. It's basically just really fun because everyone involved is very talented.
Yeah,
and
that's what it struck
and Steve
me.
Carell and Tina Fey are like, they feel like a married couple. You know,
Right.
like they feel like they would work as a married couple together, and they're just so funny. I mean, Barrett even has the sin about he sends something because they're so funny, and that they didn't do like 6 of these movies together.
All right. What are Barrett's thoughts, Danae?
Well, you know how I said that, but then I went to look and he didn't actually have any thoughts. Do you remember that? It's happening now.
Yeah. Well, through the beauty of technology, I can
think
cut that
we
right
have
out.
similar opinions, just based, and that was a really fun. That was really cool on the script. Like, it was a pretty easy process because we both basically had the same thoughts, and
Which is what?
That it's just like what I just said. That it's a really fun, light and breezy movie, and it's a lot of fun, but it's not really tackling anything new. So it was kind of easy to send because of that, because you could kind of send the tropes and whatnot,
Right.
And I found I usually have I think I said this at Sin Week. Usually my hardest scripts are like are comedies because they're trying to be funny, right? So like we're basically trying to make fun of something that's being funny. It'd be like doing a parody of a comedy,
Right.
And so like I've worked on stuff like Girls Trip and what was The Wives, the one with Mila Kunis, Bad Moms, right? Is that what that was called?
Yeah, I think you're right.
And I've worked on stuff like that, and those were always really difficult for me because I couldn't figure out where to grab onto stuff. And I don't know, this one was a lot easier for some reason. And I think it's watchable. I think that probably helps. But because there's so many of those generic areas, it was kind of easy just to, grab onto some of those things and to play around with them.
Yeah.
Especially like the logistics of them getting around New York City as quickly as they do.
Yeah.
And then the idea that there are certain areas where there's no people in New York City on Friday fucking night. At like 9 o'clock, like even Central
when there's
Park.
no pandemic.
Yeah, Central Park would even be crowded. Like they're. I mean, they were in a section, but at some point while they're in the park, like there would be people.
Right.
I'm sure some New Yorkers are going to tell me I'm wrong, but I don't believe I'm wrong. And Barrett agreed with me, and he's been there. So
And that's all that matters, really.
Well,
yeah, there you go.
get ready to take a drink. Danae, have you seen this?
I know that I haven't seen this one.
I think you would probably enjoy this movie as well.
But I really like Tina Fey a lot. And then Steve Carell.
Yeah.
He is great. He's one of my favorite actors just because I love how he delivers his performances.
Agreed.
It's so unique.
And the other thing Barrett did really well that I didn't even really think about while I was watching it, but then when he brought it up, I'm like, oh yeah, is that one problem with the movie is that they don't really seem to be in a rut. Like that's kind of the whole central conceit of the movie is that they're in this like rut and they're scared that they're going to lose each other. So they plan this night out in New York City and all this kind of stuff. But they seem like a really happy couple.
Yeah.
They go to this really nice steakhouse for their date night.
Yeah.
They do a book club together.
What's wrong with potato skins anyway?
Yeah. It's just, you're just sitting there like, do I really feel bad for these people? Like they seem fine. They definitely don't seem like they're headed for a divorce.
No, and I like that joke. There was a lot I liked about this script. I'm just going to mention a couple, though, and then I'll let you guys take over. But I did enjoy the joke about confusing game night and date night. I thought that was well said. It made me laugh because all of us have done it over the last couple weeks.
Yeah, and we had written that prior to that. Barrett Barrett, in fact, sent me the combined script in the wrong feed.
Yes.
He put it in the game night feed, which I had no access to. He was sitting there like he was mad at me because he's like, Jonathan hasn't gotten back to me in like 4 hours. And
even preparing for this recording. Preparing for this recording, Danae's like, we're not going to talk about date night, right? Because we already talked about that at Sin Week. I'm like, what are you talking about?
I did. I'm so ready for it to be over.
Yeah, well, congratulations. It's almost over.
We've arrived.
And then the other joke I had to mention, because I'm me, I had to mention the better off jotting some notes on your labia, lady, which I just thought was so well delivered. So well said. What about you guys?
I really loved the kids' jokes. From what I understand, nothing in parenting works every time.
Yeah.
There's a few parenting.
You can tell
jokes.
two parents wrote this script, by the way.
That's true. I hadn't thought about that, but that's true. And then you've already pointed out the whole they've already been on dates. What's going on here? I also liked how you guys were saying that they hadn't been in more movies together. The whole part of them being in the vehicle and how that whole thing would work.
Oh, that scene's ridiculous.
Yeah. So that was really, really good. Just the delivery of that whole sin sequence. And so that was something that I wrote down that I really enjoyed. When they're in the subway, though, there's this moment when they're in the subway. The sin is it's funny because he's wearing funny clothes and kind of goes on there.
Yeah.
But my eyes zoomed in, and this is something, if you really want to, it's at minute 13 minutes, 11 seconds into this video. Just zoom into this poor woman's ankle. This is what high heel shoes do to people. And it's just awful. You guys, it's her poor ankle bone is just jutted out, looking horrible, and I feel really bad. So I don't even know what the sin was. All I know is that I was mortified by her poor ankle.
I think we were making fun of the fact that Steve Carell was wearing these ridiculous clothes, but there was no way that the Mark Wahlberg character would own those clothes. Because he got I think that's the scene you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
On the subway. Yeah. And there might have been a couple of sins there. I can't remember, but I know that was one of them.
And just the way that Jeremy delivers the, I think you mean whore. It's really good. I enjoyed this one a lot.
The only couple of things I'll mention, there was a part Jeremy did an Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonation because we made fun of when he said "end of days." We made a joke about I'll give all the sins back if Arnold Schwarzenegger shows up and says, "Oh, I get it, Christ in New York," and he does a really bad impersonation. But I will say it's great though because I actually wrote in the notes I put "do your worst." Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Nice.
So if anybody's that's a terrible impersonation, it was requested.
Yeah.
And then the only other big kind of sin thing I will say that the mistaken identity plot itself is ridiculous. It's kind of almost like a sitcom. In any real life scenario, they would figure out very quickly they had the wrong people. It wouldn't have taken more than 5 minutes to figure that out, but they have to stretch it out. But we had a lot of fun, playing around with that. Yeah. So, then Barrett calling out Jimmy Simpson as being Christian slatering really hard was really funny.
Yeah. He doesn't even have to try to Christian Slater. He's automatically kind of Christian Slater.
But that's something I never really thought about till Barrett wrote that scene, and I went back and watched the scene. I'm like, oh yeah, no, he's totally doing a Christian Slater right now.
Yeah.
I love Jimmy Simpson.
All right, let's move on to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, Turtles in
Turtle
Time.
Power.
Have either one of you seen this movie?
Nope. I don't remember ever seeing this movie, and I remember just in the last day or so watching the Sins video and thinking, I'm glad I don't remember ever really seeing this movie.
And I'm sorry, I might have cut you off. This is Atkinson Share, right?
Correct. This is an Atkinson Share script. This is Chris and Barrett. Another great CinemaSins video. This is full of some really funny stuff.
And this isn't one, like, they do the whole thing with the sin counter, and this just isn't one where I would think that would, you would do that. But God, it works so well.
Yeah, there's just good stuff all throughout this thing. Now, have you seen it, Jonathan?
Yeah,
Is it as bad as we think?
Seen, I mean, I haven't seen it since it came out in the theater, so that's 93. So yeah, but I mean, but I did remember it oddly enough. Like, while I was watching, I did randomly watch the first two recently, which the first one, I'll admit, is still kind of fun. The second one, not so much. But and I can't imagine this one would be. But this one just looks so cheap and like. Yeah. It just looks really uninspired. Like they didn't, like they were just like, we should probably do a sequel. Huh?
Yeah.
Like they weren't trying.
Yeah, that's just kind of what it felt like to me. And that's what I remember it being like. And then watching it in this. And I don't know, it's stupid. And like just recently we were watching the first two, like they have like those great Jim Henson suits and stuff, but they look terrible in this one. I don't know if it was the lighting or if they were using different suits. But my God, they looked bad.
It's really bad. This is so bad. This looks so bad. But the video, on the other hand, is so good. I had so much fun. Danae, you know what? Why don't you start? Tell us some of your favorite parts of the video.
Well, I am a huge Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan. I've seen every movie. Just kidding.
Oh. Take a drink.
Drink it up, suckers. I think I've seen one of these movies before, but it's been so long, I don't know.
Was Vanilla Ice in it?
I don't remember.
Because that was the second one.
I don't remember. You know what? There is a moment whenever they fall from, like, they're like in an industrial, like, building and they fall from like a ledge into some ooze or something. Maybe I don't know.
I don't know that happens.
It was very colorful. Was there a trampoline involved?
Are you sure this wasn't when you were experimenting with psychedelics that you thought you saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but it was actually just an actual turtle on a curb? Like
part of me wonders when I watch this stuff, like, because the way that everything is delivered with their like mouths moving, it's just so jarring and like movement. They're just like pecking around and their lips are so distracting and the teeth, everything is so distracting. I don't know how I would have made it if I was on this one.
By the way, did you guys see my tweet where I was joking around about since we have so much time on our hands, maybe I should start partaking in hallucinogenics again?
Yes. Yeah.
And then I was like, I wonder if I can order shrooms, asking for a friend. I had like some legit serious responses to that. I finally like, I'm just kidding, guys. Like, I don't want to do anything right now.
Oh my God. Oh, that's funny.
I'm kidding too. Yeah. Pass those along, Jonathan. Just totally kidding. I'm just joking around.
Hey, while we're talking about Twitter randomly, I just wanted to let you guys know that I did a poll a while back. I mean, at the time that you're listening to this, it'll be a while back, but like in the time that we're recording it, it has ended recently. I mean, it's going to end in the next like 20 minutes or so. And I just want to let you know it's a close race between farm and plastic.
Is that really just nonsense though? Like, was I missing something? Okay.
Did you hit 1,000?
Jeremy and Barrett made me feel like I was missing something. They were having fun.
Did you? Did you end up hitting 1,000 votes? Because I know you were 900 something.
Yeah, wow. Got over 1,000 votes. It's crazy.
What made you think to do that? Were you just
most popular thing I've done on Twitter was a meaningless poll with 4 words: yes, 3, farm, and plastic. That is the most famous I'll ever be on Twitter.
The most likes I got for a tweet, I believe, was when I saw that Kristen Stewart movie from Personal Shopper. Was that the name of that movie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't remember.
And I just said I liked it.
I didn't see it.
And there are some diehard like Kristen Stewart fan tweet like Twitter handles. They all like retweeted that. and I ended up getting like a couple thousand likes on that, or like I was like, what the hell?
Well, like I've got 27 likes, but there's 1,000 some votes. That's the part
that's
that cracks
crazy.
me up.
It's amazing.
Anyway,
it is, and as a sign of how amazing this movie is, we'd rather talk about our Twitter stories. That's how great the Teenage Mutant.
I would much rather talk about my love of Kristen Stewart.
I apologize.
I
did think these scenes were funny. Let me start though by reading what was sent in by one of the writers.
Oh yeah, I think Kristen and some stuff on this.
He said TMNT 3 was supposed to be a very loose tentpole for the New Mutants, since we've done every X-Men movie, but as we all know, New Mutants pushed itself back into oblivion, seemingly finding a perfect date to finally come out, and then the world changed. TNM3, I don't like saying it. I'm saying it wrong, but it's just what it is. TMNT3. God. Tries to be fun by putting time travel into the whole thing, but it's such a low rent sequel. It didn't come out too long after the first one, which was a big hit, and the second one, which should have told New Line that the popularity was waning, which should have told them that. Man, I can't read. I'm sorry about that. It's not terribly fun watching the 4 Ninja Turtles beat a bunch of warriors supposedly from the 17th century Japan for reasons that aren't exactly well defined. On top of that, those guys aren't even the main villains. It's the English traders, but anyway, nobody knows how to fight except the Ninja Turtles, and the battles are terrible. Since I have my very set opinions on how time travel would work, even though no one knows how it would really work, I am exhausted of time travel movies where people in the future think they have to, quote, act quickly to fix something in the past. It's like they don't have a device that lets them manipulate time. It's like they think that things happening in the past are happening concurrently with the future. So if someone in the past gets hurt or killed, they can't somehow travel back in time just before that happened.
Yeah.
I kind of wish I had recently seen it, though, because I love that part of the video where I was trying to figure out what was going on, where they drop the scepter. The only way they have to get back home. They don't even seem that upset about it. And then someone randomly has another scepter.
Yeah.
It's like, what a lazy movie. And the battle thing, like, it doesn't even seem like there's really any battles in this movie. Maybe 2 fight scenes in a ninja comic book movie.
Well, it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's not Battletoads, Jonathan. That's where the battles are.
That's true.
With the Battletoads.
But there's a lot of fighting, as I can attest, because I spent a few hours of my Saturday watching these movies. There's a lot of battles in the first 2 movies.
Yes. Yeah.
And the TV show.
Yeah.
I did write down some of my favorite sins, if you want to transition into that.
Yeah, please.
I also the whole start of this one, where it's just about like the timing of the bad choreography and the bad sound, and there being like $20 million and stuff like that. That was really, really smart. But then like right afterwards, we're going into mannequin ass, which I really appreciated. I also loved showing off like how the titles just kept going and all of through the whole entire first 20 minutes. That's something that older movies did a lot. I didn't realize like how much they just go on and on and on.
Yeah, it's interesting to follow the way movies have changed the way they do because those I mean, you call them titles, but those are technically credits. You know, they're credits, right? Well, you know, when movies early on, they did all the credits at the beginning. If you watch It's a Wonderful Life, the credits are first, you know, and then the movie just ends and it just says the end and you go home. So it's been interesting to kind of see how that's changed over the years.
I also, this is something that maybe I should have researched before mentioning this, but maybe you guys will know. Sin number 53, whoa, she just touched his teenage mutant cloaca. Do turtles have cloacas?
They sure do. They are reptiles.
I'm learning something new.
Yep.
Oh, wow. I love turtles.
For the most part, you're safe assuming most species that lay eggs have cloacas.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Hey, that's cool. Right on.
So female humans have cloacas because they lay eggs. That's how our kids are born, right?
Oh, well, Jonathan, interesting.
Whoa.
Interesting.
You're a new species. I also like the sin where 400 sins for the stupid references. I love seeing the sin count pop up. In fact, there's some fun sin count stuff that happens in this one. There's an error screen in this one. which I really love. Sin Counter EXE has failed. Just add 14,000 sins.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was so exciting because it's just fun to see that. Hockey being invented, and that's how hockey was invented in Japan, and they became so dominant internationally. The 1980 Miracle on Ice never happened. Japan beat the U.S. 17-2. So
it's good stuff.
So funny. So the final sin count being over 14,000 was just brilliant. Oh, and then the whole like, but the reason that the sin counter broke was that the joke about was it Don King? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then he's just laughing and then removes all the sins. And anyways, it was just super fun. That was a really fun
You know what
thing.
I like about that? I mean, I like a lot about that, but it is a kind of a little bit of a continuation of what we did with the Game of Thrones, where the sin counter is reacting to what the narrator's doing,
Yeah.
which I love. So like, there's kind of this idea like the sin counter doesn't know what to do and fails because it can't figure it out, kind of thing. So
It also felt like whoever wrote that in was just like, this movie is crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Started like laughing hysterically. And like, I should write that in.
The other thing I liked about that one was in a series of 3. Like, it went bang bang. Like, the sin counter failed, and then there was a stop trying to make fetch a thing joke that just slayed me, and then that went right into a turtles together strong joke, which has nothing to do with anything. It's just, Planet of the Apes, making fun of Planet. And those 3 jokes in a row, for whatever reason, put me on the floor. Like, it was just
fun.
So fun.
This was another one where there wasn't a lot of combat, and there should be. In like last week's episode, there should have been a lot of dancing on the BTS video, and there wasn't. So I thought that was sort of a funny, like just a synchronicity type thing. The sin where it's like, sure, what the hell? We've tried everything else in the movie. What that doesn't involve actual combat? It didn't seem like there was much fighting.
Last week's episode that we recorded last week.
Yeah, we sure
and
did.
not 2 hours ago.
That's why it's fresh in my mind.
I liked Leonardo DiFribilo.
Oh, yes, for the defib, yeah.
I like that we pointed out how bad the mouth movements were, because I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, I thought at first, like when I was watching, it's like, oh, this edit must have like the video quality must have been not great, and I'm like, oh no, that's just a movie. So that's excellent. They point out how quickly April adapts to the situation. Like, she's just she's all in and being like sassy and shit, like talking back to the warriors. And she had been there for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, if that were ever the case, like even if I was teleported back in time somehow, and I was just there in the clothes that I'm wearing right now, they would call me a witch and then hang me immediately. Like, that's scary stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
And they bring up the biggest sin is probably that, like, when they're trying to figure out how to get April, they never consider, why don't we send the guy back that replaced her?
Right.
And then maybe it will reverse. Like, they never even consider that.
Yeah. That's crazy.
They're like, no, we have to find people that weigh the same as us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
As lazy as this movie is, it's so convoluted.
Yeah, I had a lot of stuff that I liked. First thing, there's this nice long sin about how horrible the fighting is, and it ends with, that's not sword fighting, it's sword touching. I don't know, that just made me laugh. The Gina Davis, William Shatner shout outs, because it's so true. It is so very true. And this is, I think, the most poignant sin in this video, and so true. They say something about, it's crazy that was even an old joke in 1993, and that is so true, because I think that one is in reference to Fallen and Can't Get Up, and that's an 80s joke, right? And what you can forget is that when that movie came out in 93, that joke was already too old. Like, right now you can think back and go, oh, that's just an old joke, but it almost in some weird way makes the movie better when you don't realize how out of date those jokes already were at the time. Yeah. So I'm so glad we brought attention to the fact that these jokes were already out of date. The Goofus and Gallant handling a burning building conversation was so funny to me, and the idea that Gallant would be the one letting the children burn, which is hilarious because it's true, because that is what you should do. Like, you shouldn't run into a burning building. Man, that was dark and true, and really, that one made me laugh. And then the we definitely weren't and never have been wrong. Sin was
Yes,
another one.
I loved that one.
That made me laugh. So lots of great stuff in there. Definitely. Before we move on, I do want to mention that there was another surprise video last week.
There was.
We had an April Fool's video, which we haven't done in a while.
Technically, there's 2 surprise videos.
Well, that's
if
true.
You are a member on Patreon, which you can find out more information by going to patreon.com/CinemaSins, or you can go to cinemasins.com and you can click on our membership information. We do bonus videos there. And so not only was there the video that went live to YouTube, but there was so much content since this had several writers that there was 2 scripts. There's this one, and then there's an even wackier one over for the members.
And I will say it is for our Peeper members and above who will be getting a bonus video every month of some sort or another. So that's the first one. That's April's bonus video. So if you want to go check that out and become a How's the Peepin' level member, you'll get a chance to see that video. So fun stuff. As far as this one goes, I as far as who wrote on it, we all kind of wrote on it. I think, Danae, you're the only one who didn't submit any sins. Is that correct?
Are you trying to be an ass right now?
No, I was clarifying. I can cut that out. I can cut that out.
Oh, hey, Danae, you're the only one that didn't do extra work.
I can cut.
Danae,
Listen.
You're the only one that's not a true team player.
Listen, I barely submitted. I submitted like 10 sins, so I'm with you. You and I were the ones who really didn't do a lot with this. So, I'm with you.
Yeah, I started watching this one to throw down on this April Fool's sin.
Did we say what it was? I'm sorry.
Probably not. Probably not. That's the April Fool's joke. We're not going to tell you what we're talking about. It is the Avengers. The Avengers, the 1998 version of
I didn't
Uma
really
Thurman.
know what this was, and so I did. I went over and I started to watch it, and I got about 20 minutes in, and I had some sins written down, but I realized I was doing a sins video and not an April Fool's video, and so I spent a few minutes trying to figure out what does that mean, and then I was like, well, I'll just give it a go, and I watched another like 15 minutes of it, and I just could not wrap my brain around what the idea of the April Fool's video was.
Yeah.
So I decided that instead of really pushing myself, I would get to work on other things that I could sin and use that same brain that I've been developing for the last little while. And so, yeah, I just kind of made a call that I didn't know that I was going to deliver what was wanted or needed. And then whenever I watched the video, I think I made the right decision because I was like, oh, that's next level. That is next level sinning that I don't know. I mean, maybe next year I'll try to give it a go, but my God, that was next level. So,
well, and to explain why it's April Fool's is because the whole idea is that the narrator thinks he's watching the MCU, the Avengers, and he's actually watching the 1998 movie, which is a remake of the British television show from the 60s and 70s, I believe. And where this originated was that when we were getting closer to when Chris came up with the videos, we were doing specific to also Patreons for Sin Week. Which those videos should still be available to Patreons, correct?
Yeah, members should have access to those videos right now.
So Chris and Jeremy decided they wanted to redo the Avengers plus we talked about this on Behind the Sins, redo the Avengers in 2020 eyes. And when that came up, I made a suggestion that it would be kind of funny if at the beginning of the video, you actually are sending the 98 Avengers. And then I don't know where that turned into, let's make that an April Fool's. I don't know if that was me or Chris, but we decided that would be a lot of fun because they've done some videos in the past. They did a mashup of White House Down and Olympus Has Fallen. Mm-hmm. That was one year and stuff. So they've done some other stuff in the past. So Chris thought this would fall in line with those videos. And it was fun, man. I wrote on this one and because anything went, right? I mean, it was just whatever you want to write. And we were like making up stuff that doesn't even exist within the Marvel universe.
Right.
Like the referencing the superheroes in the Homeland series that was supposed to like for the release of At the Earth's Core. Like, I mean, none of that's true. Chris was just like, make up whatever you want. It'll be it's fine. So for that, just to have the freedom, it was fun. But it was also, like Danae was saying, it was a little difficult too, because at times you just want to send the movie.
Yeah.
Because this movie you could send all day.
Sinful. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
I realized
horrible.
as I was getting into it, I was like, oh wait, no.
Yeah,
I'm taking this like we normally do, and this is supposed to like turn that on its head.
I had the exact same experience, Danae, and is probably the reason why I got through about an hour. So really not much more than you did.
Had you ever seen the movie?
I had seen the movie, and
Yeah.
I guess we should
Me
say,
too.
I don't know that we need to spend a lot of time saying this, but this movie is trash. It's so horrible, and
It's
so bad.
one of the worst studio films
Yeah.
I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I saw it in '98 in the theater and hated the crap out of it. And
this
and
movie
then
is
watched
so
it
bad.
again for this and didn't like it any better.
This movie is so bad. And I kind of, because I've been around a little bit longer, and I've seen us do like this kind of style before, I kind of understood it maybe a little bit more, but I was in the same mindset as you, where I was just like, what am I adding? I don't think I'm adding anything, because when I find sins, they're just actual sins of the movie. And when I find stuff that connects to the Avengers, I'm like, I guarantee all four of them already have sinned this in some way or another. And by the way, that was bore out in the compilation process. Every single sin I wrote, somebody else wrote something at the same time. It's kind of one of those experiences.
Yeah, that
where,
was funny. Seeing the Combine, there was like all these ones that was like 4 alts.
Yeah. Like in my very first experience with that was the Shield. Like there's the program that covers the Earth is called Shield, which is obviously a Marvel thing. And I was like writing a joke about that. And I did include it in my script, but it was one of those things I was like, I know everybody's got a Shield joke here. You know what I mean? So it's, or somewhere.
Well,
in
and
the
then
script.
and I like limited myself to Marvel too. I never even was thinking about, combining like DC and Marvel, like it was one thing. But then, obviously Uma Thurman played Poison Ivy. So that was really cool that a couple of them, jumped on that.
Yeah.
It was fun.
This is bonkers, but it is so much fun, and I'm really glad we decided to do it. And I think I did have 2 jokes that made it into the final video, so I got a couple in there. But it is a lot of just absolute nonsense kind of fun stuff, and we had a good
We're
time.
recording this early.
Yeah, and it's hard because we would love to see how the audience reacted.
That's what I was
to
going to
this.
say.
Yes, yeah, we don't know yet.
We don't know like what the response is going to be. People not realizing, sort of like a music from behind moment, like when they don't realize for how long until they know, oh, this is their April Fool's trolling video.
Yeah.
So because there's all these moments where you're referencing the name of characters that are clearly not who they were, like when Stan Lee's coming in for his cameo and things like that. Like I can just see the fans being like, "That's not Stan Lee," and like not realizing that we know.
Yeah, maybe we'll have one of those where somebody tells when they realized it was a joke.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like-
and maybe that's all we need to say about it this time. Maybe we'll talk about it more next time once we know your response. Maybe we'll have some thoughts about your response to the April Fool's stuff. I'm
That's
really
fun.
curious to see how people take it as well.
That's fine with me.
But
yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, but fun stuff. All right. Well, the only other thing we're gonna do is we're gonna hit the comment section.
I want to know what you're thinking.
I appreciate your honesty. You're a real straight shooter.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
Not really talking about comments from the videos because we don't have those yet, but we do have some of your questions and comments that Danae has been.
Are we going to go live or not?
We can try.
Because I've been saying we're going to go live with people being able to join us.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is we're going to head out to a Discord voice channel and get some questions directly from you. Do a little bit of a live mailbag. This could be very interesting.
So we're going to have some people joining, and then we're going to... I think everyone should be muted when they join, so...
It does appear that way.
This is exciting. Hi, everybody. We've been recording now for a long time. So we're doing something kind of unique.
Oh, my goodness. Look at everybody.
Thank you for joining us. Here's how it's going to work. You're hearing us live. I'm so excited. But we're going to answer your questions over in the Behind the Sins podcast chat. So, and it's anything goes. I don't know how many questions we're going to be able to get through, but we're going to try to get through as many as we can. So once again, thank you guys for joining us. All right, here we go. Question number 1. What is the most useless info that you know? This comes from It Don't Connect.
Oh my God.
I love it. It Don't Connect on Discord has a lot of useless info that they put on there, and it's one of my favorite things. The most useless information that you know.
I don't know that I would consider it useless, but I'm going to answer this as like the first thing that popped into my head. I know a lot of information about like the muscular and skeletal system, and so I find that sometimes someone will say something, and I'll be like, "Hey, did you know that like the soleus or your gastrocnemius is considered the second heart of the body?" So I say stuff like that.
I don't think that's useless, though. I think that's good. See, I would think the useless would be like all my movie knowledge. My wife's even told me before. She's like, if just like 8% of that knowledge was in like chemical engineering or something, like you would just be like a rich genius. But at least now I get to use my knowledge.
Danae,
all right, Aaron.
Danae,
Yeah?
did you say we have a second heart?
It's called, the gastrocnemius is called the second heart of the body because when you take a step, the gastrocnemius is your calf muscle. It technically makes a pumping motion-ish and helps to pump the blood back up into your torso.
We're all Time Lords. That's amazing. I've always wanted to be a Time Lord.
Aaron, if we're going to get through a lot of questions,
Okay.
ask for more info.
I know so much.
Do you want to answer that question?
I know so much useless info that I can't remember any of it. Like there's so much of it in my brain that it only pops out when it's called for. You know what I mean? Like when something triggers it. So I can't think of anything right off the top of my head, but I'm sure
this
it'll
question
happen.
came in. This one came in earlier from That's Not My Name, wanting to know how many emails there are now. Probably close to 20.
Nice.
Jeez.
But that's also including like ones that we should have, not just goofy ones. So it's a list that needs to stop growing though. So I'm doing my best. Lolly asks, if during quarantine you lost all access to NWW Entertainment and could only choose one book, one movie, and one album to keep you sane, what would you choose?
Wow. That's a good question.
So one book,
one
movie, and one album.
I would probably choose an Alice Cooper album because he's my favorite artist. I don't know. God, I'm going to say I would choose Trash. That would be the album. No, I'm going to go Hey Stupid. I would choose Hey Stupid by Alice Cooper. That would be the album. The book would be probably, the movie would be, I don't know. God, man, that's tough.
All right.
Because I don't even know if I'd want it to be my
answers.
favorite. I think the movie would have to be Clue because Clue is a movie I can watch like every day and not get tired of it. And then the book would, I don't know. God, that's tough. I'm going to go would probably be like what?
I just love it. You're like, oh, this is so hard.
I'm going to go with an Agatha Christie. I would probably do like The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. That'd be my book. So there you go.
All right, Aaron, you?
Yeah. Pretty cliche answer for me for the movie, but it works. And it's my favorite movie, which is Singing in the Rain. It's just such a joyful movie that when we're talking about, keeping sane, like it's just such a fun one to put on and just enjoy every single time. That's the
same thing I was thinking with Clue.
Yeah, exactly. So Singing in the Rain would be the movie. The book, the cliche answer would be the Bible. But the truth is, I kind of have had the Bible in my life so much that I know so much of it by heart.
Jesus is listening to you right now.
I'm sorry, Jesus. I'm going to pick something other than the Bible. I'm going to pick Jurassic Park. I haven't read it in a long time.
That's a good
one. It's a fun read. It's a really fun read.
It's a very fun read.
Oh, and did I pick?
Did you also do an album?
Album would be probably the best of John Williams. That'd probably be my my album.
All right.
I'm going Fleetwood Mac Rumors. I love that album.
Nice. That's a great one. I'm going to change mine.
I would choose a movie that the whole family could enjoy. So I'm just going to say Frozen right now. I'm going to regret that later. I wanted to do something like that I love, but if it's in quarantine, I'm stuck with other people, and having a 3-year-old, keeping her sane is really at the top of my mind. And then the book would probably be Lord of the Rings, just because that one is nice and juicy and has a lot in there to enjoy.
Very nice.
Okay, let's go to the chat. Let's see. This one comes from Gilchild asking Jonathan, what was your first horror movie?
You know, I got asked this the other day, or it was just a random Twitter question I was trying to answer. I'm just going to guess it was Halloween because I watched that premiered on television in 1981. So it was the television edit. I wasn't watching like the unedited. And I remember we watched that when it came on, and I was probably like, I guess I was 5. And then we recorded it on a tape, so I watched it a bunch. So I think that had to be it. Poltergeist was one I remember really well, but that came out in 82. So I'm going to guess it was Halloween, which makes sense because I'm Sam Loomis on Twitter, so that makes sense.
That makes sense. Let's see. Here's a question from Liz Spearmint saying, "Who's your favorite person to write with on a script?"
Oh,
well,
come
the answer
on.
is me. The answer is me. I just wanted to.
Everybody's answer is Danae. Next question.
Oh my God! How would we even go about answering that one? That would
because
be so hard.
everybody's different. I mean, like for it's different reasons, you know. So I like everybody about the same. I think.
Yeah, it's such a pat answer.
I know
but it's
I do.
true. It's such the expected answer, but it's so true. Everybody has different parts that you enjoy writing with them. So yeah.
And
yeah.
Chris is really good at knowing who to put on what movie and together. So I mean, he's great at doing that.
Yeah.
This is when we have to compliment our bosses because they're listening. Ron 0912 asks this: how do you answer difficult questions that your children have asked? Now, this is a good question because, again, this is any question goes time. It doesn't have to be just about script writing and movies. I'm going to give a quick answer. I try to be honest at the age level. So I have like a 3-year-old, right? So if she asks me something, I try to like give her really simple answers. So like if she's like, "Mom, can I go see Miss Elaine?" And right now the answer is no, she can't go see Miss Elaine because we're on like this, self-distancing thing. I say, yes, we can very soon. But I'm sure that question would change and shift depending on the age group.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, because the way I answered my daughter when she was Iris's age versus her being 8 are two very different things. But no, I mean, my wife and I, we're honest. I mean, we just think in terms of like, we don't want to freak her out, but we're honest about everything. I guess except we weren't honest about Santa for a few years, but whatever. But Aaron was, and then Aaron's kid goes to school and tells everybody Santa's dead. So he was murdered.
That's right.
It's a true story. Yeah, I mean, there's different kinds of difficult questions, right? Some are difficult because the weight of the answer is heavy, and I heard somebody explain it to me one time that if you think of it like carrying your luggage, you wouldn't ask your kids to carry 200 pounds of your luggage in the same way you wouldn't expect them to carry the weight of some of these answers to these questions, right? And so I think it's very appropriate, at least as far as I'm concerned, to say, that's not something you need to worry about. That's not something, that's not a conversation we need to have right now.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
And that's one kind of difficult questions. Other kinds of questions are difficult for cultural reasons, for our own upbringing reasons. I'm thinking of like sexual questions, those kind of things where there's a shame element to them that's kind of been put in us. And for me, I try to be very frank about those things and eliminate the shame part of it, and just have open conversations about sex or pooping or whatever, the things
or
that
pooping during sex.
Exactly.
It's normal,
Danae.
okay?
It happens. It does happen.
Why
So
are you raising your hand?
So I think there's that second category of difficult question where it's, I try to be frank and honest with those kind of things.
I thought your name was Aaron.
Yeah, me too. That was weird. Next question is from Juliet. If we want to think about this one for a minute, we can come back to it. This is your favorite movie soundtrack. I'm going to adjust this question to be one of your favorite movie soundtracks. That way we don't have to think about which one's actually number one and have a battle in our mind. I know my answer right off is Garden State. Love that album. That's a fun soundtrack. There's a lot of new people I hadn't heard before. That's how I learned about is it Imogen Heap or Imogen Heap? Mm-hmm. And that was just kind of like one of those standout soundtracks that I learned about other artists when I heard that soundtrack. So
this is a terrible movie, but it is an awesome soundtrack, and it's The Crow 2. It's got like Hole on there and Helmet and Tool and just a lot. It's a great rock album. from 90, 97, 96, something like that. And but God, do not watch that movie. I mean, that movie is bad. It's like the Avengers, 98.
My favorite soundtrack is from a movie, a Christian Bale, Robert Sean Leonard classic where swing dancing defeats Nazis.
Oh, Lord.
It would be Swing Kids.
I should have been
It would be Swing Kids.
This one comes from The Stranger. Asks, what is something exclusive to Missouri that you wish everyone could try?
Jonathan,
I love
you go
this
first.
Question. Jonathan, I'm sorry, you're going to have to skip this one.
Branson?
I
thought you were
did
going to
see
say
this-
Aaron and Danae. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Oh, that's a
No,
good. That would have been
don't
the
try
best
us.
answer. Damn it.
Don't try me, foo. You mentioned Branson. I think maybe Silver Dollar City is a really good answer to this one because there is a theme park.
It's a
here
nice
in
park.
the Ozarks called Silver Dollar City. But I think I would want it to be Silver Dollar City from like 1990s or something because now it's just so crowded. But it is really unique and it has a lot of local kind of history as far as like food that they make because it's more of a like back in time sort of element. So the theme of this one is I think the 1800s in the Ozarks. So and then in Branson also because people travel there, there's also other shows and stuff which kind of shows the history of the hillbilly style.
Is Branson
So,
like shut down right now?
I'm sure
I
it
would
is.
guess. Yeah.
And they have seasons too.
Oh, okay.
So
I think if you're talking exclusive to our area, the Ozarks, yeah, I think you're looking at stuff like Branson and that kind of stuff. Otherwise, I mean, the Arch is really cool. I mean, if you're coming through St. Louis and you have some time to see the Arch in St. Louis, it's pretty cool up close.
That totally is in Missouri. I was like, wait, that's not in Missouri. Wait, no, yeah, it is.
yeah, it's here. And then as far as something that's not really exclusive, but I mean, pretty much, James Brownie Funky Jackhammer from Andy's is an absolute treat. So yeah.
Andy's frozen custard. If y'all ever come out this way. Jacob the Hodge says, I'd suck up to my boss and pick the favorite book being Abel's. Oops, we missed that one. Let's see. This one involves a favorite concert from the Condor. Favorite concert you've ever been to?
Oh, that's easy. 95, the REM Monster Tour, and Radiohead opened for them.
Man, that would have been so good.
So Radiohead and REM, and that was the Bends when they released the Bends. So yeah, that's an easy answer for me.
I'm gonna say I have only ever been to 2 concerts, and that might be mind blowing. It's just I'm not like a live music person, and I never really prioritized going to see live concerts. I mean, I guess there's a lot that I've seen because I was in radio, and then we would go and there would be live performers. But like as far as me purchasing a ticket to go someplace and not for work, I've been to see the Goo Goo Dolls, and I've been to see Mute Math, and I loved the Mute Math concert. Oh, you know what? I also saw Jewel, and that's probably my favorite. Is Jewel.
Mute Math is a great show.
Mute Math was awesome.
Yeah, they're incredible.
Before their
I
drummer
don't know if I've
switched and changed.
ever heard of them.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. But I mean, they've made enough waves that they've had some popularity.
I'll check them out.
Yeah, no, they do an incredible show. Yeah, I think there's 2 versions of this answer too. One of them is like there are some concerts I've been to that were so intimate that immediately they become another like level of experience because you're having an experience.
Like you had sex at the concert?
Yeah, it's just an orgy concert. You've never been to an orgy concert? It's the best. It's the absolute
I've seen the band orgy live, oddly enough, but not
there was
an actual orgy.
The one I think about was actually at a label event because I've been in radio and there was a label event where this band that nobody had ever heard of, and still you would not. In fact, I can't even remember their names right now, but it was the most mind-blowing thing I'd ever heard come on stage. That's just one that sticks out.
Heard come on stage, huh?
Speaking of orgy concerts,
orgy?
I think probably the real answer though is more recent than that. I loved the Weird Al concert I went to last year.
Oh, I would love to see Weird Al. I've never seen him.
He's great.
He's incredible live, and it was so much fun, and everybody in the crowd knew every single word of every single song, and it was just one of those experiences. So yeah, I really enjoyed
I want to
Weird
change
Al.
my album answer that I would keep. I think I would pick a Weird Al album because
Right?
that would be a
Oh,
blast.
that's true.
Yeah.
I don't know which one. Maybe Polka Party.
Okay, here's the name of the band. I had forgotten
I love Weird Al.
but they're fun stuff, especially the first album, Family Force 5. It was a band I'd never...
Oh, yeah, I've heard of them, yeah.
And
they're fun stuff.
Yeah,
fun, weird, wacky stuff.
Exactly. They just came out and blew my mind. So, yeah.
This one comes from Rifle, who is our admin on Discord, who has a Discord question for us. Yes or no, do you want to have a new Discord channel that is set up to post all new Sins videos and possibly podcasts as they go live?
I think we can talk about that and answer that question later.
That would be, I mean, that could be cool.
Could be. We just have a lot of
it.
things to
if
consider with that.
If you guys have opinions about that, if that's something you guys want, give your feedback behind the scenes podcast chat.
Yep.
All right. From Childish Brandino. This is dangerous. I haven't read this one yet. I need to read them ahead of time. Are there any movies that you think are either so bad or so good you would refuse to make a video on it?
No.
Nope.
I mean, everything is sinnable. I mean, there's ones that would be tougher than others. And there's some subject matter I probably wouldn't enjoy, like, watching personally. I mean, I always make the Human Centipede joke, but if Chris assigned me Human Centipede, I'd watch it. I'd send it,
Yep. We'd put the sin in Centipede.
Yep.
There it is.
Be sending a lot of ass to mouth or whatever.
There it is. Let's see. I'm going through here. It looks like we've got just about a minute or so left.
Yeah, a question or two.
For another question.
Question or two should be fine.
What's great is there's like a lot of comments going on the chat, and so it's so fun to do this. We will do this again if this is a popular thing. We could even possibly do more of our show live with you guys, possibly in the future as well. If not the whole show, we can maybe do like a little pre-show or something. That's something we've been considering.
You heard Danae promised you that, so if it doesn't happen, it's her fault, not mine or Aaron's.
Did she though?
We can do this one real quick. This one's for me from Pro Poutine. Says, how many D&D sins have you snuck into videos? I think so far I've done some lingo that they haven't known about, but as far as a straight up D&D reference, it's just the one that made it into Mulan, and that is because Jeremy was doing that one with me, and you'll hear more about that on the podcast coming out this week. So all right, I think that wraps it up then.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was really fun. That was quite a big crowd there.
Yeah. Well, just another reason to come hang out on the Discord. It's becoming a really fun place for us to interact with you guys. So if you're curious about the Discord, you can get a link at the Reddit. There's a link at the Reddit page. Or you can ask for an invite via email or whatever, and we'll make sure you get one to come hang out on the Discord and do it that way. So
send me a link at CinemaSins.com.
What's my effing Discord link at CinemaSins.com?
I didn't really make that. I did not
has
really
not been
make
made.
that.
Has not been made.
No.
That's going to do it for Behind the Sins this week. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Don't forget to make sure you're subscribed. Go ahead and leave a comment or rating as well. Hang out with us on Twitter. I'm at Aaron Dicer. She is at Danae Says.
DENEESAYS.
And he is at Sam Loomis 13. So for Jonathan Watkins, Danae Hughes, and myself, we'll catch you next week.
Thanks for listening. Send any feedback to behindthesinspod@gmail.com, and be sure to subscribe or message us at Twitter, and be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
I'm going to be honest. I don't know that I could tell you the difference between a Sunday and a Thursday right now. Like it's
well, that's what I was telling you. My daughter yesterday, seriously, like 5:00, I said something about, I don't remember what she was asking me, and I said, yeah, but it's Saturday, sweetie. She's like, what? She really thought it was like Thursday.
People talk about people getting pregnant this time, and one of the responses I've heard is, "Oh, that must be coming from people who are going to have first children."
Yes.
Oh, yeah, because your kids. Gotcha.
I'm really honest and open about Justin and I having had a difficult relationship merge. We've been married for 10 years, and it's been a struggle. And he was even
marriage is hard.
He was even during Sin Week. Someone's like, "What's it like being married to Danae?" And I think maybe that person thought that it was going to be like, "Oh, it's like being married to a Muppet, a fairy," And every day is just wonderful. And I was joking with Justin while we were packing up, and I'm like, "Man, were you honest when people ask that question?" Because it is like, it's hard being married to me. And he laughed and he was like, yeah, I was honest. I was like, some days we love each other and some days we just get on each other's nerves in bad ways. My sister-in-law, my husband's sister, lives in, why would I have to explain what a sister-in-law is? Sorry.
Let me tell you about how sister-in-lawing works.
Let me clarify what that means just in case you're confused.
Just give him mine, and he can follow me if he wants, and then I'll follow him back.
Okay, cool.
And then we'll share nudes.
Perfect.
I mean,
as everybody does.
Did I say that out loud?